All right. First, before I start, because of the time limit, I will be fast, precise, and I would like the response to be concise. So please, I don't know, I would like to entertain like two questions from the audience. So it won't look like I'm speaking um, on my own view. I would like to get your own opinion. I'll be dealing with the role of emerging young change makers. Now, that's the role of youth. Change maker now, we're talking about those who want to actually make impact in leadership and governance for nation building. So, to the panelists, we have problems actually. And the way we have in this forum, I don't want it to just appear like we have a talk today, and after the talk today, it ended after this door. Perhaps I wouldn't like it to just be, it ended with a picture at the backdrop. It should be a lifestyle. So, um, first, I think what I actually outlined there, we have some keywords, which is leadership, governance, nation building. And the subject part is the change makers. So I don't know, in just 30 seconds, if you could just help us with what you can pick out in all of these circles.
Number one, governance. Our world needs governance. And I said something before. It starts with self-governance. You cannot go into governance without you having a self-governance first. What is that? Having control over the affairs of your own life. So you see a lot of people in government today, they don't have control over their own lives, so you can't expect anything different from them. Number two, you said, what's the other word? Leadership? Now, leadership is a very interesting subject. And as I always say, everyone is born a leader, but you need to sacrifice to become that leader. How do you become a leader? It's by the discovery of yourself, the giftings, the skill set. What is it that is you that you are going to use to impact your world? Until you discover yourself, you cannot make impact in your world. So we have lead, just like my sister. My sister, she's actually displaying leadership. What she's doing, she's a lead baker, lead musician, lead. It's not the position you're holding, but the impact you're making in your world. Also, leadership is about responsibility. Who are the people taking responsibility for our world, for our community, for our families, and areas like that? You have a role, I have a role to play there. And today, we have a deficiency of leadership, which is why this conference is important. You have to find your place, and you need to make a difference. Don't live. Most people, 80-90% of people, only live to make a living today. Live to make a difference. Find something you're willing to die for and live for it. Now, lastly is
Nation building.
nation building. If we do the first two, we build our nation. That's just a summary of it.
All right, thank you. My mentor has spoken. He's also a mentor to me. For the ability to manage the resources of others committed to you effectively is governance. I think the undoing of this country, in fact, this is very timely because when you look around governance and leadership, we have a deficit of it in this nation. In fact, if you look at from 1922, when we had the first constitution, Clifford Constitution, that was when the issue of political whatever started. You will see as a nation, even when we were amalgamated in 1914, the issue had been about leadership and governance. We have not been able to find a nexus between these two. And the greatest undoing of this country is leadership. We are blessed, but people we have put in charge to manage our resources over time have failed us. And let me say this to quickly, you put nation building. Part of the greatest challenge we have is this. When you want to, you are an engineer, you studied engineering in school, But is there a school where we study leadership? People just emerge accidentally on the stage. Now, for instance, if on a very big sea or Atlantic Ocean, you are told that this particular sailor is not learned, is not an expert, and they told all of us, okay, please board this ship. But the one that the sailor is not an expert. How many of us will go with that? The same way leadership needs training, special training, and education. For a nation to be built, we must start taking this conscious effort at capacity building of people that we are trusting with leadership. So to build a nation, we need to build personal capacity. Personally, we need to be built. If you don't build your own capacity, if you don't lead yourself, you cannot lead others. That is it.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I'll be waiting for the question. Just 2 questions, please, from the audience. So we can just add it up with what I have, because with what they said already, I think we have more than 30 questions. But then I'll try to summarize it all. Now, as emerging young leaders, let me say the focus is everybody is born a leader. Everybody is born a leader, and we also have leaders that are made. That is, you reborn yourself as a leader. Now, as young leaders now, how do we help the situation of a country like Nigeria? We don't have to hide around words, because, in fact, this morning I was having a discussion, and it was focused on the fact that how can we move this country forward? And you have good intention as young leaders, but people surrounding you, the system itself, how do we go about that?
Fantastic question. Nigeria right now, let's use the context of Nigeria, has a terrible leadership deficiency. I can tell you for a fact that leadership determines everything. The state of your life, the state of our community, the state of our nations, the state of our businesses. But then, the young people right now have been not allowed in positions of leadership for a long time. And if you study history very well, most of the people that we call leaders in the name of political leaders, government leaders, started being in the leadership position in their teenage days, or as youths, 29, 27, 30. Now, what has happened over time is, number one, I think I mentioned in our last session, we need young people being mentored. Unfortunately, a lot of mentoring opportunities are not being opened. We need people in governance, people in government, people in leadership position, passing the baton on to others. Not only you waiting for the baton to be passed on to you, you placing a demand. So we need the young people to rise up now. You cannot afford to be quiet, or else the nation might collapse on you, or you will not even have a nation by the time you grow up. So you need to place a demand on the people that are ahead of you. We need to know what is happening. We need to have a say. You know, the last NSAS protest by young people was a wake-up call. But it must not end there. I must tell you, because it was a wake-up call, not just for you, but for leadership of this country as well. Because they now realize that people are getting to understand that the power is not in the hands of the people in government. The power is in the hands of the populace. So you need to place a demand, and you need to make your voice being heard. No violence. Media is one of the tools. Businesses is one of the tools. You need to make a move. You need to make a difference in your community. Number 3, you need to learn. You see, I'm not talking about going to school right now. You need to be students of history. You need to learn from past experiences. You need to learn from the failures and the successes of others. What did they do in this country to change the paradigm? What did these people do to get to this place? and begin to act based on that. But one thing that you cannot afford to do as young people is to sit down and expect life to come to you. You will need to make a sacrifice. That is what my advice will be to you. Thank you.
Thank you. He has mentioned mentorship, but I'll say again that intentional capacity building, be intentional about your own growth. These people in this system are not ready for anybody. The best they can give you is glorified PA and SE. Be intentional about your own growth. I have seen, but I need to warn us. Many of us places money before value. That is why the system don't trust us. If you are looking for money from one office to another, you will never be trusted. And when you are not trusted, nobody will give you anything substantial. When they know you as a thug on the street, they know what they can give you. At best, they will give you 2,000 when you get to their office. But when you have classed yourself, you are intentional about growth, you will see that many people will start leaving this place, because if this place is meant for jamboree, this place will be packed. But because this place is, yes, assuming you want to dole out cash here, you will see that this place will be filled to capacity. But anything that will build you, please be intentional about it. Go for conferences, go for seminars, choose a mentor that will guide you the right way, not the one that will mess you up. But then, the future belongs to those that prepares for it today. And opportunities only favors the prepared. A position you are not prepared for, when you get there, you mess up. So be prepared. If they are calling you leader of tomorrow or leader of whatever, the system will not trust you. If you don't trust yourself, if you don't work on yourself, nobody will give you that responsibility. Be responsible. Take charge yourself. Take charge of yourself. Be intentional. Be intentional.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, like you mentioned, let me start with you this time around. You building your own capacity. So far, so good. We've always hear this: build your capacity, increase your growth, read about the histories, try to gather knowledge. But then, we barely have issues about, we barely see the needed history to be read, the needed history to go through. We barely see the cadres and the archive to actually have access to in order to become a reborn leaders. So far, we always have people who tell us, you have to build your capacity, but what is the capacity you have to build? Because one of the major problems we have today is about finance and governance. It's a major problem. Every focus has always been money. But then how do you manage fund that will give a better leadership ability? Now, let me just wrap it up with this now. So far, so good. If you are in government, if you siphon money and give to the people, they will appreciate you more than a development project. How do we change this mindset?
All right. The first thing I will say is we should not be mentally lazy. I want to pick from the first thing you said. How do we build our capacity? I read books a lot. See, when I graduated, I decided to go for my master's because I wanted something different. But then, you see, I was having in view that, well, I'll get a better job when I go for my master's. I was telling some people before I came here that education will only open your eyes to opportunities. It is not the end in itself. Read books, source for materials in your area of interest. Read books to build your personal capacity. Then again, you see the issue around money is very deep. If you siphon money and you give to people, they appreciate you. But they know that they cannot trust you with that position in the future. Anything you display, and I can see, if you steal money and you give us today, we will appreciate you. But in the future, if I have a company and I want to employ, I will not employ you. You thought you did me a favor by giving money. But I know you will not be trusted with my own personal company in the future. Because I will see you as a thief. Even though you did it for all of us, for our benefit, right, today. But tomorrow we will not trust you. So the issue of trust is very germane, it's very important. Whatever you do, any office you find yourself, Try as much as possible as a youth leader in the state, as a youth leader in your school. Try as much as possible to manage the issue around money, around fund. Be open, be transparent, be responsible with whatever you do with money so that you will be trusted tomorrow. Everything we do today, we might not repeat today, but it's as if we are sowing a seed.
Thank you.
That seed will germinate. And when it germinates, it's going to produce fruits. Would people be able to take from that fruits? That is it.
Thank you so much, leader and speaker. I'll write on what he said as well. To build capacity, number one, you got to understand leadership is more of attitude than skill set. Leadership is 80% attitude. And how do you cultivate attitude? You cultivate attitude by belief and thinking process. So you got to look at your belief and your thinking process. Where did you get it from? Your thinking process is from your knowledge base. So when we say read and read why, we're not talking about reading textbook. Read about great leaders. Read about times and seasons. Read history. Read governance. Read constitution. Read why. Because whatever you read actually forms your thinking process and brings about your belief system and produces your attitude, and your attitude controls your behavior. Leadership is about your risk. What is attitude? It's the way you respond to the many vicissitudes of life. The way you respond to the many issues of life is what defines your leadership. In fact, leadership is not a pursuit. Leadership is a result of many things that you do. It is your behavior and your actions on different things that make people call you, this is their leader. What impact are you having on others? You need to build capacity to influence others. That where people are making a lot of noise, you are there making a difference. You hear people are talking about problems, you are there thinking about a solution. So it's all about attitude. Leadership is not an office, it's not a position, it's not a title. It is 80% attitude and 20% skill.
Thank you very much. I think I picked something there. Leadership is not about position. It is not about position. Let me say, I still have like 2 questions. I have this here that dirty politics is a challenge to good governance. Dirty politics. Dirty politics is a challenge to good governance. What is the way out for young, emerging leaders? Both of you.
Okay.
Politicians go for.
Please, I would like us to be sincere here because.
Okay.
Please, let me just add this. Before you emerge into any political office, at one point, you have to just play it dirty at some point, of which, with your good intention, you might have some challenges when you emerge into that office.
Okay. Now, listen to this, young people. Listen to this. Let me say this and say it loud and clear, and whoever is recording, make sure you record this. A politician by default is not a leader. Can I say that again? A politician only lives to win another election. So, what happens? You want to aspire to a leadership position, but the only way to go about it is politics. Now, you will need to transit from being a politician into leadership. Why? Because leadership is about finding something that you are willing to die for, not willing to live for. When you look at politicians today, they are only willing to live. They're not willing to die. That is why you see politicians, they don't change anything, they don't develop anything. So as young people, you will need to make a decision now, not when you get there, not when you attain a position. You will need to decide today, what is it that you want to do? What impact do you want to make? What change do you want to make? And that is what is going to drive you to your leadership. If you don't make that decision first, then there is no point of you trying to aspire into any position, because you will become a manipulator. That is why today, when you see politicians give people money, it is what they call a manipulation. And the worst thing you can do to yourself is sell your birthright because of a piece of meal. Make a decision today. If you want a nation to be great, it's in your hand, it's in my hands. And we need to also begin to educate our populace that, look, anybody gives you money to buy your birthright, you have no say when they begin to act, because they already paid you off. This is my take on it.
Thank you.
Okay. I need to come from this angle. When you say politics is dirty, it is because of some people we have there. And that is what we preach in our churches. I'm a believer too. And I want us to go back to our churches to start telling people we have to start joining politics, all of us. Because if we say politics is dirty and we youth are not joining, the people that are lights, the Bible says we are lights, we are agents of change. I would like to quote a scripture, if you don't mind. The Bible says, and the light shineth in darkness, and darkness comprehended it not. Now we are lights. If you don't go there to make the change, who are the people you expect to make the change? When they tout, because he helps to steal a ballot box, they will appoint him to a position. How do you expect him to behave when he gets there? And you are a Christian, you are sitting at the corner of your church, you are praying, I will not join politics. But if go and join politics, though, because that change we expect, that change we anticipate will be a mirage. If good people don't join, please go and join and change this mentality of politics is bad. These people, their face is going out. They are going to fizzle out with time. Things will change. This nation will be great, but with all of us, with our involvement. That is why this summit is timely and necessary to build our capacity for the future.
Thank you very much. I want us to appreciate them once more. Appreciate them. Put our hands together. Let's appreciate them. Before I wrap it up, I'd like to just say this. The power of the people is far more better than those in power. And the power belongs to us. So it is important, if you don't have your voter's card, go and get your voter's card. If you have your voter's card, please, the use of voter's card is not to open a bank account. It is to vote. Please, use it, and not for 4,000 naira or 5,000 naira. Our life is at stake. When I mean it's at stake, it's at serious stake. Because you don't come to school and study for 4 or 5 years, and at the point of you graduating, the system is telling you